See if anyone joins now.
Wow. That was like brutal. I tried, I signed on and the camera just would not work. I couldn't get into the stream and I had to restart my computer. So anybody just joining, sorry about the late session here. I had some bad technical problems on my computer.
I was talking to myself on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's all good. I mean, these sessions are recorded, so unfortunately, I mean, it's 100% our fault. But if someone misses it, they can always go back and watch, which is good.
Yeah, well, technical problem. You know, my Mac on my camera just would not work.
Your Mac on your camera? I mean, your camera on your Mac?
My Mac would not work.
Yeah, it's all good. I was actually just touching on, I mean, we'll see if people are still hanging around. One of the first things from off of YouTube said, your photos for your live stream look like you have gray hair, to which I believe I do have a few. So thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
I always say, like, I'll take as many gray hairs as needed, as long as I keep my hair. That's my like, but I feel like a lot of it's genetic. It's like, depends on, what your family's like. But anyway, I was actually touching on the email that we received regarding I sent you a text of, with the reimbursements. Kind of an interesting move. I find it, funny how we say, oh great, there's going to be no fee changes in 2025, and then it's not a fee change, but it's something else. So I don't know if we want to touch on that at all, because that's going to be a big thing happening on March 10th.
Yeah, so basically Amazon put out a notice that they're changing how they do reimbursements. So they're now going to be reimbursing us for the manufacturing cost of the product as opposed to the average selling price on Amazon. So just another way for them to grab some more money. So it's going to be on you as a seller. If you're in your Amazon selling account, I don't know exactly. Do you know where we're able to put that in yet?
I don't know the details of it yet. The only thing is just you have two options. One is to rely on Amazon's quote unquote massive pile of data that they have as far as manufacturing cost, which again, no information about, or you can put in your own manufacturing cost. So I would assume that it would be best to put in your own quote unquote manufacturing cost for every SKU, because if you're not the manufacturer, if you're a wholesaler or distributor, whatever you are, you're going to be paying a markup from the manufacturer. So you're going to be losing money on the reimbursements that they've already lost. So double-edged sword.
Yeah. So we don't know exactly where we're putting our manufacturing cost in yet, but as soon as we get that information, we'll put it out. But Amazon always doing their thing. Amazon, the amount of inventory that Amazon loses is just going to be a percentage of the amount that you sent in. So like the more volume that you're doing, Amazon is just going to end up inevitably losing inventory, but most of that inventory will get back through either, the form of that reimbursement by submitting invoices, so you have to have the invoice from either an authorized distributor or the brand manufacturer themselves. If you have that document, you'll be good to go 9 times out of 10. But if you don't have that, just another reason why you may want to gravitate towards a business model like wholesale, because it's just, in every aspect, it's easier in dealing with Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. Just putting a tweet out that said we're live, just in case anybody.
Yeah. So we got a question here. So the first 6 to 9 months going to mainly be about building a relationship with the brand or distributor, or just getting your foot in the door.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're always looking to build and forward the relationship with the brand. I mean, when you say getting your foot in the door, I think that we always talk about like path of least resistance, right? Like getting a price list first is the most important thing. But I think you're always looking to build the relationship for sure. I think as you go along, and if you agree with this, is like you will kind of uncover opportunities as you go. So what starts out as maybe a transactional account can turn into something more. But you always want to build a relationship. I don't think there's ever a time where I've been like, I don't want to build a relationship.
Yeah. What does that mean, a transactional account? Maybe just elaborate on that term, just in case anybody watching, if they're not sure what that means.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I'll kind of take the opposite and use that as the example. Is you and I were looking at a product today, and I was the one calling, and you looked at the product and you said that's an exclusive. And we say that a lot because we're looking at something that is maybe not profitable on a purchase basis. Like if we were just to make a purchase today, get our foot in the door, to use that terminology, it probably wouldn't be profitable. But there are plenty of accounts that are transactional where you can just have, not even a selective agreement or an exclusive agreement. You can have just selling alongside everybody and still make money on the account. And we have tons of those. So transactional account is exactly how it sounds. You're making money on the transaction versus something like a non-transactional account. That's an exclusive type of deal, right? Where you're only able to make money if you do one of a couple factors, which includes, put the price up, eliminate sellers, get a better discount, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And a lot of times we're always working towards something beyond that transactional level, and that's really where the power in brand direct wholesale is, in that if you can build a relationship with the brand, you can slowly over time persuade them into, a semi-exclusive agreement, meaning, you're one of a few sellers on the listing. And then, at some point, an exclusive agreement where you're the only seller on the listing. You're able to forecast your orders easily, your price consistency. You don't have to deal with price tanking. It's the next best thing to owning the brand. It's being the exclusive seller on Amazon for the brand. So it's a coveted position, and the best way to start that process is by getting your foot in the door with that transaction. But if you're just starting out, it's all about just calling in volume, so reaching out to 100 brands per week should be the goal when you're first starting out.
I just looked at, I just got a couple notifications for it. That's why I was looking at my jingle that I made on Twitter. My 12 Days of Christmas jingle that people seem to enjoy that. I think it's so funny that we got a like some sort of account that's like account health, whatever, that responded to it. Said, so sorry. The situation might seem bleak, but there's always a way out. Reach out now if you want us to take a look at your selling account.
Yeah, what was you want to say what the jingle?
Yeah, it was on the 5th day of Christmas, Jeff Bezos gave to me 5 Section 3s, 4 IP complaints, 3 gated listings, 2 shipping errors, and a shipment still stuck in FC. And I feel like obviously like hearing the jingle or whatever, but actually it's so funny. I figured it's just like, it's relatable, Someone was like, I'm scared for the 6th day.
Yeah, but it's like, like it was just a tune, but I feel like a lot of people took it to heart.
Seriously,
thinking we're like going under or something.
Yeah. No, I remember like I was sitting on the couch back there when I was writing. I think I was laying down at night or something, and I was like, this is good. I was thinking about trying to get all 12, and I was like, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, well, if
it's funny. The other day, I forget, I was talking about it. It's like 6 or 7 out of the days in that song you get birds. They're all birds.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like 6 out of 7 days or 6 out of 12 days. It's birds. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Anyway,
Yeah, it was a good tune. I think
yeah, we're gonna record it soon.
yeah, a lot of people deal with all those things. IP claims. It's like, yeah, it's the hardest part about dealing with selling on Amazon is dealing with Amazon. It's dealing with the curveballs and problems that Amazon's going to throw at you. So like, as a beginner seller, just really framing your mindset, just training your mind and really being in the state of mind going into this business that there's going to be spontaneous issues that require immediate attention.
Good way of saying it.
You need to be able to pivot and be on your toes with Amazon, because there's been times where it feels like you're getting backed into a corner and you're like it might be over. There's been times where we thought that it might be over, for various reasons, right? Or very, very stressful times, right? And a lot of that is due to dealing with the problems that Amazon presents. As you become more of a seasoned seller, I think you start to adopt a mentality of, I think you're able to, deal with that better because it's not your first one, right? It's not your first rodeo with Amazon, but when you go through, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 account health issues, it's like, all right, this is the norm. I just need to position my business in a way that is able to be able to provide these things to Amazon, and avoid a lot of those account health issues, the Section 3s, the invoices, and the way to do that is to sell direct, is to be directly authorized by the brand.
Yeah.
There's just
also, you're able to like differentiate between what's an actual threat and what's not. Like, I remember way at the beginning, there was something that was, now I look at it and I laugh, where it was like a letter from a brand that, like, it was, there was 0.0% risk, and it freaked me out at the beginning because I didn't know any better, and so you kind of learn like what's legitimate and what's not as far as that stuff goes. But
Yeah.
like you said, it's like those issues are going to happen regardless. And so both of us, I mean, we look at it as like, why take extra risks? Like, it's already a risky business model, because you're at the mercy of a platform. And so taking extra risks is beyond me. I don't know how I couldn't sleep at night with account health, persistent account health issues.
I mean, you see it all the time from other sellers. It's like people running massive, big businesses who have, just tons and tons of dings on their account health. I mean,
and to be fair, it's a percentage of the business, right? So some sellers, I mean, it might look nasty to someone, and realistically, it's 0.000% of their, total sales. So, but still, not something that we want to deal with.
Yeah, but I still think that if you're doing brand direct wholesale or private label, it's not a percentage.
Yeah. No, totally.
We're not, every now and then, we'll have an issue, but it's generally on the customer side, an authenticity claim on the customer side. I mean, I don't know if, knock on wood, we've ever gotten a complaint from an IP claim from a brand, since we've been doing.
That wouldn't even make sense.
It wouldn't make sense, so so it's like doing those two models you don't deal with account health problems. It gives you more time and energy to focus on the growth of the business rather than constantly being in defense mode with Amazon.
Yeah.
When you're in preemptive defense mode by picking a model that is safe, sustainable, scalable, etc. Um, you
Yeah.
have, like you
Absolutely.
said, you don't have to take as much time dealing with those issues, and you'll
Yeah.
be.
Talking here too, just on that note about, Seller Central and ungating and how that works in wholesale. I mean, you want to talk on that as far as like how do you ungate products in wholesale? Is it even something that we really do? Like, is ungating an issue?
Yeah. So, well, if you're a new seller, it will be you will be gated in a lot on your Amazon selling account. But if you're doing wholesale, by definition, you are buying from either an authorized distributor or the brand directly, and you will be able to upload an invoice to Amazon, and they will approve you. You may have to upload. Sometimes Amazon asks for additional compliance documentation, like certificates of analysis on, like, topical related products. And this is for brand new accounts. Like, if you're a seasoned account, you won't have to deal with that. You'll have the occasional product that's gated and you may have to upload an invoice, but as a seasoned account, you won't have to deal with any of that in wholesale. But when you first start, um, if you're a brand new Amazon seller, you will be able to get ungated with your invoices. But if you're doing like an arbitrage business model, you won't always be able to be ungated.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And most of the time, I mean, maybe if you're newer, it's different. But like, even if there's a brand that we're looking at, I mean, we're selling small to mid-sized brands for the most part. So you're just, you know, click approved. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not dealing, like you said, with those massive size brands. So when Amazon, um, you know, and Lego decide to just pull the plug, like, that has no effect on not just Lego. Like, there's a lot of big brands that got gated. That has no effect on a business model like brand direct wholesale, because you're just not dealing with those big brands.
Yeah, the follow up to that one, you said upload the pictures of the product and whatnot, 10 units. So that's transparency, right? I'm correct on that, right? 10
Yeah,
units, that's transparency codes.
you won't have to upload images unless it's like for transparency, but you just got the invoice has to show the purchase of at least 10 units on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
invoice.
yeah. Yeah, and it said pictures of said product. So,
Yeah.
um, the invoice is 10 units. And honestly, I mean, I've seen people complaining about it on Twitter and whatnot. I've seen like some crazy, like 50 units, 100 units, like, which if you're doing arbitrage, it's like,
What have you seen? 50 units?
yeah, for ungating.
They're making sellers submit an invoice for 50 to 100 units.
Yeah, I've seen some, that's why you paused there because you didn't, you're like, what? Yeah, I've seen some
I
crazy.
thought it was always 10 units.
I haven't seen. Then again, like we don't deal with ungatings like that, but I've seen some Twitter posts that are like some crazy amounts. But again, mostly for people doing arbitrage. So, also, good evening, Claudia. Appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, and sorry for being late on our live here. If you guys are just tuning in, I had some serious technical difficulties with my camera on the Mac, so I couldn't jump on for like 20 minutes. But
Feel free to send a bunch of hate comments to Brad. Well, feel free to send a bunch of hateful DMs. Make sure you just say they're directed towards him. Is it better to have a one-page website explaining your business when you approach a brand? You want to talk on like the different websites and whatnot? I feel like, well, I mean, one page.
yes, basically, a website is I think it's an a nice to have. It's not a requirement for wholesale. When we talk about a website, there's going to be two categories of websites when you're doing wholesale. One is the Amazon service consulting based website, and two is the add to cart Shopify website that actually carries physical products. If we're going with option one, which I would recommend for most people, a landing page with maybe a couple of tabs explaining about what your company does is fine. The reason why I recommend that one is because in brand direct wholesale, we're reaching out to companies in all different industries, right? So we're not specific in one category or another. And with the Amazon consulting website, we're accomplishing what we're trying to do, which is, show that we're providing value to the brand. But it's a bonus, right? So the focus is just making the calls and building the relationships and opening the accounts. And if the brand does happen to ask if you have a website, you have somewhere to direct them to, so that there's you alleviate any potential sticking points. Now, if you do have a Shopify website, you're going to want to make that website industry specific, or at least within the realm of an industry. So you don't want to reach out to an automotive company with a health and beauty website, because that's not going to make any sense, and it's going to hurt your chances of closing that account in automotive. So if you do have a website, have it in a niche like health and beauty, but use it to help close accounts in health and beauty. And like I said, we have the Amazon consulting website. I suppose if you carry enough products in a niche, it may make sense to have the second option. But I think, as a brand new seller, or, even as a seasoned seller, the focus is just closing accounts in a variety of industries. I think option one is your best bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so as well. I think especially when you're starting, confining yourself to a specific set of products, I don't think is the move, because I think, we always preach about like reaching out in volume, and, it's harder to do that when you got less products. I mean, you can, but it's not exactly ideal, I don't think.
Yeah, no.
So I can hear about the systems for prepping and packaging, and just made me laugh reading it. It's like, it says, did you guys have a good system at the beginning? I don't think there really wasn't a system, and it's like, another thing too is like, we didn't just be like, all right, we're going to start selling on Amazon today and just have a warehouse, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. And just like most people, I mean, you're starting out of the house. So it goes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people think that you need to have all this crazy. I always just keep like relating back to that reel that you did, where you're like, you don't need to have this to sell. we like, I remember you had the microphone on here too, so I was like, just act like you're yelling, but just do it quietly or whatever, because you were super far away from the camera.
Yeah,
that's a good reel, but it's true.
Yeah, you don't need any systems to start. You just need to start.
Yep.
So once you grow and scale, there's nothing wrong with building in systems, right? But the focus in the beginning, like the scrappy guy or girl, is the one that wins every time. Like the person that's scrappy in the beginning and is just going to make it happen no matter what is always going to be more successful than the person that is meticulous and trying to plan everything out and doing all these different systems. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have some sort of a plan or a rough outline going into what you're going to do in any realm of entrepreneurship, but the work will always win. And that should be the focus. It's just making the calls, doing the outreach. There's a second question here from John, which I actually really like this question. It says, is there a point in the business where you'll have enough suppliers, or is it cold outreach always a thing? I have a couple ideas on this one.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
chick.
go ahead if you want to
Yeah,
talk on that first.
yeah. So basically, John, this comes down to your goals, and cold outreach does not have to be a thing if you don't want it to be. If you build out your business to 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, it's like if you can set that business, as long as you're keeping a 30 to 45 day supply and just restocking your inventory from your different suppliers, you can basically put a wholesale business on cruise control and not hyper focus on the growth, right?
Mhm.
That's also going to help you provide you with more cash flow, because when you're hyper focused on growth, you are heavily reinvesting your profits back into inventory and closing more accounts, right? So, but that's everybody's definition of that is different, right? Some people are happy running a $10,000 in sales per month business, and just looking for a
Like,
side
you were
hustle.
gonna say $10,000 a year. I was like, wow. Hey, I mean, there's probably those people out there too.
Well, some people are happy with 10,000, selling 10,000 a month, and maybe they're pulling home a couple grand, and it's just a side hustle, and more power to them. There's nothing wrong with that. Then there's other sellers who are looking to scale to 10, 20 million a year. So it's like the amount. What's going to determine that, the ability to scale the business to that degree, or to somewhere in the middle of those two numbers that I said, comes down to two things. One is outreach and actually doing the work, but two is aggressiveness of reinvesting capital back into the business in order to acquire more inventory. So you might have to take on more debt. You might have to, not pay yourself as much because you're focused on the growth. And that's going to result in a much higher profitability as your business, but it's going to come at the expense of your cash flow. Because if you're growing to that degree, you're going to be reinvesting a ton of your money, and possibly debt too. So now you're operating at a negative cash flow. You're going to be scaling your business like crazy. Your profit's going to be going up, but you might not have any money in the bank. And that, at the end of the day, is a decision that the owner can only make, and the degree to which you have to determine what your degree of comfort is with that. So I think it all comes down to the owner, and what the owner's goals are. And the beautiful part about wholesale, final note I'll make on this question, was that beautiful part about wholesale is that if you say, all right, I built my business to, 2 million in sales, and I'm good with this, I'm going to take next year off and just keep my existing accounts. Yeah, you got to account for a little bit of attrition. You might lose an account here or an account there, but you can put it on autopilot. You can let a wholesale business run, especially if it's brand direct wholesale. You can let it run, and it'll just kind of print you money. But it all comes down to what you want out of it.
You stole everything I was going to say, so I think we'll move on to the next question. I was like right up and saying,
I like that question. That was
I was like, oh, I could mention. I was like, you didn't hit on like losing accounts, and I was like, I could touch on that. No, took everything, wiped me out. It's all right. It's good though. Hey, at least we're consistent on our answers. I always say that too, like when we talk to people, and they're like, whether it's in a DM or whether it's, and I'm like, you can ask, like, doesn't matter who you want to answer the question. Chances are it's gonna be the same exact thing. So
yeah,
no,
it's a good question.
Yeah, definitely was. I'm gonna quit my job first year doing Amazon wholesale. So working a job, scaling, pretty much go full time. I think it's very attainable. I think the first 6 months are gonna be tough, but I think if you keep at it, it's what matters. And then question here: how do I get started doing wholesale on Walmart? Banned after 200K of OA on Amazon. I feel like we're not really your guys for Walmart, to be honest with you. I don't know if you got any comments on that.
I'm sorry to hear that you got banned on Amazon. There's always a resolution for that. As bleak as it may seem, I would recommend hiring a consulting or legal firm to help you get that back.
Right.
You know, because no matter how bad your situation is, there are professionals out there that can help you resolve that issue. You know, and it might take a while, but it can happen. You know, despite how bleak this situation may seem. A lot of brands will more than happily give you Walmart as a platform to sell on, because and the reason for that is because they're so limiting in who they allow to sell on Amazon, because there's so much volume there. Everybody wants to sell on Amazon, but as far as Walmart goes, brands will a lot of times just allow you to sell on there, and you know, but like you said, Brandon, it's not our area of expertise, so you know I can't tell you exactly how to do that.
Yeah, I mean the next two questions in here kind of like follow-ups on that. One of which, you know, asking about coaching program. I can't say that I don't know if you can vouch at all, Brad, but I don't know those guys, you know, as far as coaching and whatnot. I can't really vouch for them because I have no idea who they are. Not really sure. And then question below that is about, you know, starting our community and things like that. If you guys are interested in you know, learning more about working with us or you know, community related things, you can always shoot us a message. But it's something that is in the works, and we have been up to this point like very, you know, grateful for the amount of engagement and different things that we've been getting. And so we're working really hard to make something good for you guys. But if you're looking to get started, or you need help, or you want to, you know, talk with us privately about like wholesale and you know, coaching and things like that, like you can shoot us a DM. Feel free to do that. It's not something at this time that we're like publicizing at all, but feel free to message us about that if you want to talk about that privately. But that being said, there's tons of free content on YouTube that, you know, you want a list of YouTubers that we recommend, or you can check out, you know, our channel as well. So I can't really speak on what your position is, but
yeah. And how can I go about finding brands to contact to sell?
I mean, we have the kind of based on that, we have a ton of videos on sourcing suppliers where you go really in depth into different things, which, I mean, if you want to link one of those, maybe. But in the meantime, you know, we use two different methods to find suppliers, and there's a couple of key elements. One is that the stores that you're sourcing, if you're sourcing in other seller stores, fit the criteria of the products that you want to source. You know, and two is the like analysis portion of it, of the brands you're reaching out to. And that's comes down to a few different things. Comes down to like understanding listing optimization and value adds and stuff like that. But it's a little bit deeper in there, and you can see that in the video of that intuitive sense to say like what brand we want to reach out to and what we don't, and that's to fit your criteria. And Brad just linked that down there. You can check that video out. But you know, it really storefront stalking and reverse sourcing and Smart Scout are the ways that we find all of our suppliers that we've done for years. So, you know, that's the three methods. It's starting on Amazon, and then finding the product on Amazon, contacting the company from there.
Yep. And you don't need Smart Scout to start. You can source through reverse category sourcing. You can go dive deep into Amazon's catalog through, you know, different subcategories, and you can go into different seller stores. Mm-hmm. Smart Scout just streamlines the process and makes it easier. So that video that I linked there will give you some really good information. and detailed screen shares on how to source profitable suppliers. So I would highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah, like I said, tons of information on YouTube. Everything. Fortunately, we live in a time where most everything that you need you can learn for free. So, just in general, like if you're investing in any course or any mentorship, I think that's good for application. But there's also a lot of free info out there, so make sure you do your due diligence on that as well. I always talk about, don't overplan and don't over execute. You got to do a mix of both. And so if you're one of those people that has invested in every course, and watched every YouTube video, but it does no action, I think you're going to be just as worse off if you know, do all this action and make all these mistakes, but don't learn from anyone or learn any information and learn everything on your own. So don't overplan, don't over execute. It's kind of one of my sayings that I go by all the time. It's very applicable to Amazon.
Yeah, definitely.
And no, we do not use AZ Insight. Not sure what that is. There's so many softwares out there. It's crazy.
Yeah. But you only need three if you're just starting.
Yep.
Amazon Seller Central, Keepa, and Amazon's revenue calculator, which is free. If you haven't sold a thing on Amazon, you don't need any more softwares than that.
AZ Insight is a product analytic tool. We basically wind up using, for something like that, we use FBA calculator. Actually, that answers that next question as well. What calculator to use? Revenue calculator on Amazon.com is the best thing, or something that's tied to it that's a Chrome extension like FBA Calc is good. But like Brad said, you really don't need much. Again, like same logic, right? Like the same kind of theme is like, you're pushed all of these softwares and all these things, and every YouTube video you watch has someone that has an affiliate link for this and that, and it's like, yes, they're great. Like some of them, we use a lot of softwares. We spend a lot of money on softwares, but we've been doing this a very long time. So as a beginner, don't overplan. Just free tools, revenue calculator, Keepa, Seller Central. 3 tools. That's all you need.
That's all you need. It's literally all you need.
Yep.
You could build $1 million business with those 3 softwares.
And there's things that make it a lot easier. Like, Smart Scout's unbelievable. We use AMZ Scout is a great tool that we use as well. There's other ones.
You'll need something as you grow from an accounting standpoint, maybe a listing software. You'll need these different things as you grow. But again, like, just focus on those 3 softwares to get going. And then once your business is running, you've, added some products into your inventory. All right, now maybe I'll get some sort of an account, like a seller board software to start to track my accounting, right?
It says in here, do you use software for PPC for the brands that you work with?
No, we have, we work with an agency on most of our PPC. Yeah. We've, done some work with other, one-off people, but it's mostly, we work with, if it's intense PPC, like if it's really needs to be managed, the PPC, like we have an agency that we work with, an outside agency for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we don't, like, a lot of people think you need to know how to do all these things, like with PPC and optimization and all these things, right? Optimization's, not that hard. It's just uploading stuff to Amazon. Obviously, you have to have some expertise in what to put, with the images, et cetera. But you do not need to be an expert in like SEO, PPC, or listing optimization. You just need to have the ability to sell it to the brand and show them that you are after, like you guys are in line with the same vision, right? Because that's what's going to close the brand direct account and then the brand direct exclusive. And then the follow-up question here is, how do you find the right PPC agency? Which is a good question, because PPC agencies charge enormous amounts of money. A lot of these agencies, we vetted for months a number of different agencies, And the one we landed on was like at the end of the day the most affordable. Good work, great work they do, but it's like there are PPC agencies that have, will just charge an arm and a leg. But that's because a lot of them are focused on working with private label brands. Whereas when you do wholesale, brand direct wholesale, or your margins are going to be lower than if you own the brand. So you're not going to have enough margin dollars to be able to pay these crazy fees to these firms. So that's something to consider with wholesale.
Yeah. Yeah. Very different. And some firms don't even work with anyone if you're not a private label seller. So it's kind of just, I guess the answer to that question is just you need to really just do your research. Treat it as not almost, treat it as an interview process. And interview PPC agencies and try and make the best educated decision based on cost, performance, and
Yeah, and only do that if you have an opportunity with the brand. Like if you closed the exclusive,
mm,
then start that process. Like you don't need to have a PPC agency if you don't have any exclusive agreements with the brands. You know, um, you also have to make sure like there's enough margin for you to run PPC. Who's paying for the PPCs? Is it a co-op where you and the brand are contributing, or is the responsibility all on you, or is the responsibility all on the brand? So there's different ways to structure it, for sure.
yeah, higher ticket items as well are significantly easier to manage PPC wise. You just have more dollars to work with. You have more margin for bid and ad spend, things like that. So you're going to kind of run it between a rock and a hard place if you're doing PPC sometimes on very low priced items.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the biggest thing I would say.
Well, priced items are tough in general. Like we gravitate towards higher ticket, but I mean there are items that we sell that are in the very, very, very cheap dollar range. Sub $10, and that's it's tough sometimes because you are running on very small margins. Um, Even if it's a good margin, it's a small dollar figure. So any little thing might happen. I mean, we like to stay above that, obviously, but if the volume is there, it makes sense.
Yeah. So we ran a little bit over here today because we were way late on the call because of me. My camera wasn't working, but we're back up and going. If you guys have any last minute questions, drop them here in the chat. Next week is Christmas, so I think we're out next week.
Is it on what day is it? Like,
it's on
it is. It's actually on Wednesday.
So we'll resume.
Just do it at the dinner table, Christmas dinner.
We'll resume January 1 for a fresh new year. And we're going to teach you how to start brand direct wholesale in 2025. We got a awesome YouTube video that I'm super excited that's going to be coming out soon. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. And one of the things I think it's kind of a good ending note is, New Year's, I think entrepreneurship, it's a little different because I think you're inundated on social media or whatever with all of the like, New Year doesn't mean anything. It's all, all that content where it's just like, put in the work now, whatever, but kind of reiterating that, but in like a little bit of a different light. The reason that I feel like people want to, join the gym in the beginning of the year or whatever it is, that's the stereotypical example, is because they look at it as like a mental reset, because nothing other than the calendar is changing. Other than that, year rolling over and we move into the new year, nothing changes. And so it's always just a mental shift that people make. And so the ability to make that mental shift at any point in either direction is very apparent. So whether it is January 1st or July 22nd, right? Like you can make that mental shift to either switch gears in a positive direction or switch gears in a negative direction. And in this case, like stop making cold calls and stop being consistent. So more importantly than the date is the ability to get yourself to mentally reset. When you feel yourself start to fall back into old habits, whatever it is, then eventually it becomes so second nature that it's just now it's what you do. You know, it's your business and you're consistent, and that's who you identify as is someone who's consistent. But you know, it doesn't have to be the new year. It could be today. It could be tomorrow. It could be 6 months from now, but just make sure it happens. So
absolutely great advice for an entrepreneur. We'll see you guys in the new year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Appreciate you all. Peace.
Merry Christmas. See you soon.